Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of The Rundown. I am Kendall Smith alongside of Collyn Taylor here at Williams-Brice Stadium following South Carolina's 40-17 victory over Florida. And Collyn, I predicted that South Carolina was going to beat Florida, but I didn't think it would be in a fashion like this. This was basically a beatdown from South Carolina. So what does this performance say specifically about Jason Brown, who was the third-string quarterback just a couple of weeks ago and now comes into this game and leads South Carolina to their biggest victory of the season?
Yeah, it says a lot about South Carolina's fortitude. It would have been easy for them to lie down after getting waxed at A&M and lay down, but you go through a quarterback change, you get sparked by that, you're playing a defense that struggled to stop the run, and it all kind of comes together for you, and you find an offensive rhythm for what feels like the first time against an FBS opponent all year. This was the best offensive performance since week one. South Carolina looked really good in the run game for the first time really all year. Jason Brown made some great throws, especially to Josh Van. This was as complete an offensive performance as you can ask for outside of you got to finish drives in the red zone, but you put up yards, you looked good doing it, and if you can finish drives and turn 3 points into 7 points, you're cooking with gas, and you're cooking with a lot of fire at that point if you can maintain it through these last 3 games.
You kind of hinted at it right there, but what were some things that South Carolina did differently in tonight's game that allowed them to come out with such a big victory? South Carolina rushed for 284 yards on the night. A run game has been a struggle in the past. So do you credit this victory a lot to that run game, and what are some of those other things you credit the victory to?
You got to look at the run game first. They've really struggled there, and it's caused issues in the pass game, and they dominated the line of scrimmage on offense and defense tonight. I think Florida rushed for under 100 yards, and that's a really good rushing offense. They ran for almost 300 yards as an offense. Kevin Harris, Marshawn Lloyd, Zaquandre Wett all looked really good doing it. Jason Brown scampered for a little bit. So you got really good offensive line play tonight, and your defensive line came up massive at different points in the game. Zach Pickens had a huge stop on a 4th down. Jabari Ellis, obviously the scoop and score. When you dominate the line of scrimmage in the SEC, you're going to win more than you lose, and you saw that tonight from South Carolina. And now it's, can you keep it going against a bad Missouri defense, and then against Auburn and obviously Clemson down the stretch.
You mentioned the Missouri team right there. South Carolina probably has their most winnable game out of the next 3 next week in Columbia, Missouri. What does this win tonight do for South Carolina's morale, for their confidence as they head into these final 3 games of the season and look to be bowl eligible by the end of the term? Yeah,
bowl eligibility was the goal this year for South Carolina. I think a lot of fans would take that, and now you have 3 cracks at it. From the 1-yard line essentially to get there. And Missouri's a team obviously that struggled. Their defense is not great. They're kind of on a tailspin's not the right word, but they've really gone on a downward trajectory the last couple weeks. And after the bye, I think a lot of South Carolina fans would have said this is their most winnable game on the schedule. And now you go from that being your hopeful 5th win to now you win that one and you're guaranteed a bowl game, and you still got a game against Auburn at home and then obviously Clemson at home. It's huge if you can go out there and play like you did tonight on this field behind us and run the ball like you did and dominate defensively like you did. You could be talking about South Carolina being bowl eligible after 10 games, and that's not something I think a lot of experts or Vegas would have really even thought about in August.
A non-South Carolina question to end off this edition of The Rundown. Is Dan Mullen out after tonight?
His seat's getting hotter. I saw a lot of Florida fans. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter about it, and I think that seat's getting a little bit hotter after Florida's in a tailspin right now, and they looked, lethargic. They looked like they kind of laid down sometimes in the second half, and you can't have that if you're Dan Mullen and Scott Strickland, and you got to start asking yourself some tough questions over the next couple days.
Hey, I said it before tonight's game. I said South Carolina is due for an upset and Florida is due for a meltdown. They were right on the verge of it. It seems like tonight is where everything is just coming together perfectly for South Carolina and not so much for the Florida Gators. But I am Kendall Smith alongside of Collyn Taylor here at Williams-Brice Stadium following South Carolina's 40-17 win over the Florida Gators. We'll be back at you with more content throughout the week on GamecockCentral.com, so be sure to subscribe. And thank you all for joining us tonight.